Right. We want to welcome you out to the No Time to Waste podcast studio once more. I am your guide, Marcus Murray, and we are excited today to be talking about your mind, the things that are on your mind, the things that are in your mind, who you let speak into your mind, what thoughts you retain. These are all very important to the achievement of your overall arching goals. The most important thing about the mind is that it's yours. Don't allow anyone with negativity to place anything in your mind. Remember, once we get to this beautiful place in life where we've got more years behind us than ahead of us, we have to guard our minds. We can't afford allowing junk to go into our mind. It's just like our bodies. Just as junk food is no good for our bodies, auditory junk is no good for our minds. So we have to become very discerning about who we allow to speak and place information into our mind. If the information doesn't build you, it's destroying you. It can't be neutral. Things are either good or bad. Believe it or not, there's nothing that's just neutral. So there are good foods to eat, and then there are bad foods to eat. And there are very few things in the middle, excepting water. So we want to think about this for a second. We want to guard our minds. It is very critical. Have you noticed that you can watch a crazy movie on television with a lot of fear and a lot of scary things happening. And all of a sudden, you look and it's getting dark outside and you're feeling a little funny. It's because of what we've allowed them to place in our mind. So, again, that's why we have to think on the right things. Don't allow negativity in our minds. We've lived long enough. We've seen enough bad movies. We've watched enough crazy stories. We've watched enough news. Now we choose what we will allow into our minds. Remember, just like the concept of mind control, that's a real concept that usually advertisers and different types of people they use those concepts against us. But if we flip the script, we can actually control our own mind and thereby control our own destiny. I wanted to, when I thought about the word mind, I thought about the word mine, like it belongs to me. Mine, it's your mind. That mind is yours. So you have to say, this mind is mine. And you have to own it. How would you take care of the goose that lays the golden egg? Your mind is where the gold actually rests. The next great idea, the next intuitive thought that opens a unique door of opportunity, it's going to land in your mind. You know, there are so many people that can't even appreciate a good opportunity because their minds have become polluted and clouded with negativity. Do you know the interesting thing about news? They found that people gravitate not to positive, uplifting, encouraging, inspiring news, they gravitate to negative news. Have you noticed how that works? Have you ever watched a news program and as you're flipping through channels, you see some crazy thing happening, some riot or some violent outburst kind of temporarily catches your attention and it's being fed into your mind? What we have to do is take ownership and say, this is mine. This mind is mine, and I'm going to protect it. I'm going to put a barrier around it. Most people don't know one of the great things about faith and one of the great things about Bible study is you can actually infuse your mind with information and material that will protect your mind from all of the things that war against us. Remember, news, negativity, gossip, all the negative stuff is warring against our destiny. So, what we have to do is everything in our power to keep that away from us, to keep it at bay. This mind that is yours, the mind, actually is your gold mine. The great things that could happen in the future will come from your mind. The interesting thing about the power of the mind, and the Bible says it, that if we seek, we will find. We talked in an earlier episode about the difference between an optimist and a pessimist. The optimist is the person that believes everything is going to go well. And the pessimist is the person that believes nothing will go well. Well, those are two great thoughts. But now, what is the truth? The Bible says, seek and you will find. If you're seeking all going well, you'll find it. And if you're seeking this will never work, you'll find it. Seek and you shall find. This is so critical. Why is it that people choose to believe that they are not going to succeed? Why do people choose to believe that the future will not be better than the past? Why do people choose to believe that their best days are behind them? I often say the cost of unbelief or negative belief is far greater than the cost of optimism and believing. Why not believe for the best? If you are the person that goes into a post office where the line is really long, you go in with a negative energy because of negative belief, because of what's in your mind. You remember mind, because of the negativity that we go in with, then it somehow seems that everything is going wrong in that post office. I had that experience recently. I'm sure you've had it. You walk into the post office, you see this line, it's almost at the door, and you're like, wow, this is something. Well, usually now, what I do when I get into the post office, I start talking and I start meeting people. You never know who you'll meet. You never know who you can encourage. You never know what impact you can have on their life. So I just go in with a different attitude. Now, the most recent thing that happened, I went into the post office, I saw the long line, and I stood in the back of the line like usual. And the lady in front of me said, this isn't the line for postage. This is the line for passports. And I looked and I said, wow, okay, great. And I ended up in the front of a no line. There was no line where I was trying to go, but this line had kind of zigzagged over, and it looked like it was just one line, but in reality, there were two lines, and the line I needed to be in had no one in it. So fortunately, I went in with a positive attitude. It's just like finding a parking space. I know this may seem minor, but I'm making it practical because it's funny. It's the little things, these little thoughts that change the trajectory of everything. Most people believe that financial success and business success, it's so complicated, and it's all of these complicated algorithms and these concepts, these paradigms that you have to adopt. In reality, it isn't. They're simple, small principles, just like the one, do good to others, like, or do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. The simple principle, very simple, but it changes everything. Likewise, making the decision that I would just have a positive attitude going into the post office. It opens a door that I didn't see. They could have left me standing at the back of the wrong line. But because I had a positive attitude, I believe they treated me better. Just like with the parking space. I believe that when I drive into a parking lot, the space that's for me, I'm going to find it. Right now, I'm looking for spaces that are at the far end of whatever the parking area so that I can enjoy the benefit of steps. I was just watching a great speaker um, probably a couple nights ago, and she was talking about the oxytocin that's released when you're walking and or exercising. So we spoke in an earlier episode about the fact that we all need to walk more. When I go into a parking lot, if I need a perfect far space away from everyone so my car doesn't get dinged, I'm ready to walk. I find exactly the space that I'm looking for, no matter how crowded the parking lot. What's interesting, seek and you shall find. Seek and you shall find. Whatever we're looking for, if we believe that people are all negative and people are all trying to do us harm and people have bad intentions always, guess what? That is exactly what we receive. We find what we're looking for. But if we would just tweak it just a bit, we can actually believe that the person that's been sent to serve us, the person that's been sent to help us, the person that's behind the counter or the person that we're talking to on the phone, that person has been placed in that position for such a time as this so that that person could be of assistance to me. And that's what I say even when I'm on the phone. Wow, hey, Jenny, I'm so glad I got you. You have such a positive voice. I just want you to know that I really need your help. And I know that you're the person that can help me. And then I tell them what I need. And do you know what is really interesting? When you tell people that you actually believe that they have the ability to help you, do you know what they do? They actually go out of their way to help you. And then all we have to do is thank them. See, these are the simple little principles that seem to have gotten by us. I don't know how this has happened. So it creates this vicious cycle of negativity. We're acting and behaving negatively, we're treating people negatively, and as a result, what we're getting back is negativity. How about flip the script, change the paradigm, and let's go back to do it the way that we were taught? Let's not be moved by current culture. Let's actually change the culture. Remember, if we could simply just impact 1 million people in this country alone, that 1 million people would actually change the world. We have that ability. All we have to do is believe. And I believe that we can do this. That is why, as you are on your journey of transformation, so am I. This isn't a do as I say do. I'm saying join with me because I'm doing this and I'm doing it, and I believe you can do it. As a matter of fact, I believe when we look back, we will say these were 52 of the most profound weeks of our lives. Do you realize that we actually get what we expect? Why not expect breakthrough just to live? How worthless would that be? Just to live just a regular, ordinary, plain life where we have no impact, where we couldn't change one person for the better? How will the world be better if we're not living with the intentionality and the belief that this mind is a gold mine that's mine? And together we can harvest it and we can take valuable data and valuable knowledge that we've gathered over the years. Do you realize the information that b- some people have actually forgotten more than many people will ever learn? But the things that we remember are good. There are things that we know that we can share and we can literally change a culture. We don't have to yield, we don't have to give in, and we don't have to conform. Why? My grandma used to say, "That doesn't make sense." She would say, "That don't make sense." That don't make sense. And when things don't make sense, guess what? You don't have to do that. You don't have to say that. And guess what? You don't have to agree. Do you know the beauty about 50? I still remember turning 50 like it was yesterday, and it was not yesterday, but I remember it. And I remember when I turned 50, I remember making a decision that I was going to say what was on my mind. I remember even when my wife, LaDonna, turned 50, and I told her, I said, "Hey, babe, don't be afraid. Say what you think. Just say what you think. What are they going to do to you? Say what you think. You don't have to." Now, Don't be harmful, hurtful, rude, and disrespectful, but say what you think. Your words have power and your thoughts have value. You're put on the planet for a reason. Silence is not the reason. If you have a voice, let your voice be heard. That's how this works. It doesn't mean you have to be contrary and contrite and just controversial and all of those other cons. You don't have to do that because civil discourse is what makes America great. Unlike any of the other countries in the world, we were known the envy of the whole world because we could come together and have civil discussions. We could talk, we could disagree. You have one viewpoint, I have a different viewpoint. It's perfectly fine. Wouldn't it be terrible? We would all be like Stepford wives if we all thought the exact same. We all believe the exact same. Can you imagine how boring it would be? Nobody wants that. However, silence is not a strategy. That's not a strategy. Actually, it's been written and talked about over the years that silence is a form of nonverbal agreement. So when we're silent in the face of nonsense, nonsense believes it's true. Just because we're silent, nonsense becomes true. False becomes true when we're silent. Now, if we find because we're also in this weird world now where people try to quiet you by it's a form of social intimidation in essence where they really want to shame you into silence and they want to make you seem archaic and out of touch. But do you want to know something? The interesting thing about the truth is it stands the test of time. There was a great business leader that once said, "People of integrity expect to be believed, and when they're not, they let time prove them right." People of integrity expect to be believed, and when they're not believed, they allow time to prove them right. The great thing about integrity, integrity is not obnoxious. What you find is in this day, people trying to make points, and if you don't agree with their point, they become very toxic and it's negative. It's just very negative energy because you don't agree. But this is what I say: we don't have to agree. We can agree to disagree. That's the golden rule that we should live by. It's not that you have to bludgeon me into agreement. That's not a winning strategy, which takes us to another book that we referred to earlier, which is absolutely critical for social development. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Most people don't get it. The old principles do work. I often remind my friends old school trumps new school. New school, they have a whole different way of doing things. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And when I see it a lot of times, because they can't handle redirection and correction, you just have to sit and you just look at them like this. You just look at them. Can't agree. If you disagree, they can't handle it. So you just look at them. Hmm, that's interesting. Wow. I understand what you're saying. Man, whew, that's something. Why do we use those strategies? Because you can win friends and influence people when we allow civil discourse. Now, the person that's losing in that example, where you're put in a position where you aren't even allowed to articulate, the person that's actually losing is on the other side because they don't leave with the wealth of information that you have. Because there is also a biblical principle that says, don't throw your pearls before the swine. Or don't allow the wisdom and knowledge that you have from experience to be trampled upon by someone that doesn't appreciate it, want it, or respect it. Just watch. That's all you can do. Remember, people of integrity expect to be believed, and when they're not, they let time prove them right. I'm so excited that today we made the decision to take control of our mind, recognizing that it's yours, mine, and it is the gold mine that we will harvest to identify the gifting that God has uniquely placed inside of you for such a time as this. Together, over the course of the next 41 weeks, we're going to figure out exactly what it is that you have been called to do. Now, thank you for tuning in, and I'd like to thank our sponsor. We don't have enough time to go through all of it, but it's Care Michigan. Care Michigan at www.caremichigan.com. Thanks for joining the No Time to Waste podcast. Make it a great one, and let's seize the day.